The immortality that awaits any conqueror of Les Arts. Now, Le Mans comes to America. This outrageous machine may well be the star of our show today here on CNBC. When Don Panos and company embarked on their mission to recreate the front-engine big-bore sports car, well, they needed world-class drivers who weren't afraid of being a little bit different. And they found them in Australian David Brabham and France's Eric Bernard. And those two gentlemen are poised today to take the championship points lead for the first time this season. David, you've won the last two races. The BMW's had problems. How do you see today at Laguna Seca?
Well, I think it's going to be a very tough encounter. It really will, because, we've won the last two races. The team's obviously running pretty hot. Both the Vistin Panos cars are on the front row, which is an excellent effort by the team. And, we're really looking forward to an extremely tough race.
Have a safe drive.
Thank you.
Right now, Martin Havens with the man trying to hang on to the top spot.
That's right, Steve. Year-long series points leader has been Elliott Forbes Robinson, and he's clinging on here by his fingernails. A single point the advantage here at Laguna Seca. And worse than that, the Dyson Ford, although it may be the most reliable car in the field, isn't the quickest. He starts back in 11th. Elliott, what about the weekend?
Well, we've had a very tough weekend. We can't seem to get the car working here. It's our worst qualifying of the year. And what we're going to have to do is just kind of hang on, keep it on the track, not like I did this morning, but keep it on the track and make sure that we can get some points here.
Well, there you go. We have the Tortoise back in 11th. We have the Hare on pole position. Is this the one time that Slow and Steady doesn't win the race?
In the sunny hills above California's Monterey Bay lies one of the world's great racetracks, Laguna Seca Raceway, where CNBC welcomes you to round 7 of the American Le Mans Series for 1999, the Visa Sports Car Championships presented by Honda. Hello everyone, I'm Bob Varsha. Welcome to one of the special places in all of America. To the west lies the breathtaking beauty of the Monterey Peninsula, home to the golf mecca of Pebble Beach, while to the east lies some of the richest farmland in the world, the setting for human drama portrayed in the novels of one of America's greatest writers, John Steinbeck. Well, here at Laguna Seca, we have another kind of human drama, one of sport. You could not have scripted a tighter championship battle with 2 races to go in this debut season for the American Le Mans Series in the premier prototype class. You've heard from Elliott Forbes Robinson, who leads David Brabham by just 1 point for the driver's title. And Eric Bernard, the French Formula One veteran who will share a car with Brabham today, is just 1 point further back in 3rd. And those two will start from pole position, while EFR will be back in 11th place. Now, there could be a spoiler in this prototype championship battle. With more on that, we welcome a man who has raced here many times, Bill Adam. Bill, what do you make of the BMW team?
Well, I think they could be spoilers indeed, because they are trying to salvage some pride right now. This is the team that dominated Le Mans and Sebring, the 2 most prestigious endurance races in the world. They went there, they were like the typical Teutonic perfection. Nothing went wrong. But suddenly at Portland, things started to come unraveled. They lost that race through miscalculations. And then at the Petit Le Mans at Road Atlanta, well, they threw that away with just a few laps to go. And currently, they're embarrassed. They have to be putting enormous pressure on the 2 drivers, Soper and Leto, and that could translate into more mistakes for them.
And as you know, with no straightaways to speak of, this is a very difficult track to work the traffic on. Now, prototype is one of 3 class battles we'll be watching. In the GTS class for the fire-breathing, production-based cars, it has been a season for the French Team Orica Vipers. They have entered 4 races, taken 4 poles and 4 victories. The 91 car is on pole in the class today in the hands of Olivier Beretta of France, who leads American Martin Snow by just 7 points for that driving title. David Donahue, one of Beretta's teammates, will also be in the race. He is just 1 point further back behind Martin in 3rd. In the GT category, for the less powerful but in many ways more nimble race cars, we have another great battle. The number 23 Porsche in the hands of Kurt Wagner will start on pole in class, and Wagner is in a title fight of his own. Just 5 points separate him from one of the sensations, young Johannes von Overbeck. Bill, what do you think of the GT battles?
Well, the GT battle also is one that's great fun. That for the past few years, we've seen BMW more or less have their own way, but suddenly Porsche have come back, and I think it's really the ego surfacing. Neither one wants to be beaten by their Germanic rival, and there is a huge deal of ego and pride on the line in this.
So there you have it. You've heard from the players. We've laid out the stories, but it's time for the talking to stop on a beautiful day here at Laguna Raceway. Let's get down to Mr. Bill Baker from Visa for those important words.
Drivers, start your engines.
6, 8, 10, and 12-cylinder engines with racing pedigrees from around the world come to life. Our thanks to Mr. Bob Baker from Visa for the command. And before the field rolls off, let's tell you more about Laguna Seca Raceway. 11 turns, 2¼ miles around. Bill Adam brings you our Olive Garden course description.
Starting our lap at Laguna, we're coming down the front straight, which will be the fastest place on the track. Flat out turn 1 right there, almost nothing more than a memory. Heavy braking, we're going to go all the way back down to 2nd gear from 6th into a double apex corner. The car gets a little wide here, tuck it back in, feed power gently, and grab the next gear as quickly as you can. Now watch up ahead. You're going to go into an area that can be really tricky as the race goes on. Look at this. Your vision goes to 0. You can hardly pick your apex point. Bend in here, you're 100-mile-an-hour corners. This is all very quick sections up here. Way up ahead, set up your braking. You're going to drop a couple of gears down here. Now this is going to be climbing uphill. You want to carry as much momentum as possible. Very, very fast up through here. Little stab on the brakes, turn into the apex, and hard on it. Now we're going to try and pass this Porsche up ahead. As soon as he bends to the right up ahead, you're going to get a bit of an opening, and you got to take it right now. Dive down the inside, very heavy, braking back to 2nd gear, and this is the famous corkscrew. The world falls away, and you feed power in very gently, easy to get sideways. Off the throttle, you can see the car's getting loose. Squeeze that throttle on one more time, down the hill, 100-mile-an-hour right-hander here, and the heavy throttle up into the hairpin. Now we're going to go heavy braking here, back to 1st gear. This will allow us to accelerate easily onto the front straight. You don't want to spin the tires up there. Grab all the gears, and that completes the lap at an exciting Laguna Seca.
Indeed, an exciting lap. We apologize for those technical problems. Bill Adam doesn't always speak that way. But it's a great field, a great racetrack, and an absolutely blue sky here at Laguna Seca as the field rolls off, anticipating the green flag. Now let's check out our Porsche starting grid. On the pole with a record lap of over 106 miles an hour, Eric Bernard and David Brabham in that 6-liter Panos Ford. Their teammates, Johnny O'Connell and Jan Magnussen, will be alongside. Klaus Graf not expected to get in the car, but he is ready. On row 2, J.J. Leto and Steve Soper in one of the beautiful new BMWs. Bill Arberlin and Joe Winkelhock, their teammates, will be alongside. On the next row, Jean-Marc Gugnon and Christophe Tissot in a Lola with Judd V10 power. Next to them, Eric Van de Poel and Mimo Schiatarella in another Judd-powered car, this one O'Reilly and Scott. Stefan Johansson and Jim Matthews with the quickest of the Ferraris are up next, alongside Max Angelelli and Didier Giradiguez. On row number 5 will be Didier Taze and Mauro Baldi, perhaps the most experienced driver combination in the race today. Wayne Taylor and Alex Caffey will be in another Ferrari. As you take a look at 11th through 20th, a couple of things to note. EFR will be with James Weaver in the 11th spot. The new Centura will be in the 16th spot. And in 20th, our pole sitters in the GTS category. Olivier Beretta, who leads the driving championship, paired with Austrian former Formula One driver Karl Wendlinger. Here's more of the field. And it includes our GT category leaders. The new Porsche 911 GT3R in the hands of Kurt Wagner, also a points leader. His German compatriot, Dirk Mueller. As you see, they're lapping a little over 91 miles an hour in average speed. That gives you an idea of the closing speeds we will see with 3 classes of cars on the track at the same time. The key word in the American Le Mans Series is variety. Nearly every car in the field different from all of the others. Different engines, different tires, different chassis, and some classic sports car racing names. There is the trademark turn here at Laguna Seca, the Corkscrew, 160 feet of vertical drop in the space of about 1/4 mile. One of the great turns in all of motorsports. Let's take a look at our storylines as the field comes around to the start and finish stripe. In the prototype battle, of course, the championship, the potential for contact. Bill talked about how aggressive these drivers will be and what will be the strategy of the BMW team, perhaps the quickest cars on the track. In the GTS class, of course, once again, is the championship and team tactics. We have several multi-car teams in the field. Remains to be seen how they will sort out. In the GT class, once again, a championship fight, not only among the drivers, but among manufacturers and teams as well. And of course, pit strategy will be key as the field heads down to turn 2. Now, last-minute stories from the pits, beginning with Martin Haven.
Well, the strategy story among the front 4 may be quite interesting because of the first 4 cars on the grid, only the 43 BMW has opted for hard, hot weather tyres. The 2 Paynos on the front row and the second BMW, the 42 car, are using soft rubber. But the Michelin tyre engineers believe that even in these temperatures today, they can double stint those tyres. So why has BMW opted to put 1 car on hard tyres? Are we looking here at a hare and tortoise situation from the spoilers?
In that same area, Martin, talking about tires, the European drivers here at Laguna Seca for the first time were thrilled with the surface. It is so smooth, it reminded them of the tracks in Europe. But the crew chiefs, on the other hand, said, what about the tires? This is old pavement. It's very, very abrasive. It's slick right now. Halfway through this race, this place could be an all skate. Tire management may win here today.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. Martin Haven and Steve Evans will be patrolling the pits all day. Here's the breakdown of the field. 19 cars in the prototype division, most of them open cockpit machines. We'll have 9 cars in the powerful GTS class and 15 in the GT category. The field separation from quickest to slowest, if that's the right word, 18 seconds. And we have a bunch of onboard cameras. Right now, you're on board with the number 2 Paynos to be piloted by Johnny O'Connell and Jan Magnussen. O'Connell will start. This is a camera on board the number 43 BMW in the hands of Bill Auberlin, who cut his racing teeth here at Laguna Seca. So he is very much on home ground up there at the top of this Corkscrew. The number 38, one of the prototypes that is a covered cockpit car, if you will, Alan McNish of Scotland, and the beautiful Porsche 911 GT Evolution. On board the number 11 open cockpit Ferrari 333 SP, the Olive Garden machine in the hands of Max Angelelli of Italy. Now in the number 6 BMW in the GT category, there are 3 of these PTG BMW M3s in the field. And this is the number 23 Drivers' Championship leading Porsche, coming down the Corkscrew while the leaders are about to take the slowest corner on the circuit, turn 11, and the Paynos teammates, Eric Bernard and Johnny O'Connell, will bring the field down to the green flag.
And this is going to give us our first actual shot at team strategy. Watch the Paynos on the front row, and you're going to see the BMW in row 2 is going to try desperately to get up alongside. Watch for 3 wide going into 1. Bob, they're going to try it.
Downhill, double apex left-hander. It's off camber, very slippery, and the 2x2 they come through. Even 3 wide they come through, and it appears they've made it.
And in 3rd place, Mark Gounon in the number 75 Dams Lola, the black car running in 3rd place. That is the highest he has run all year long. This Frenchman is an ex-Formula 1 driver. He is very fast, but there's something. One of the Ferraris is spun already on cold tires early in the race. Should not be a problem for him. They can rejoin. Yeah, not a problem at all, but just embarrassment right now for that driver. As I was going to say, Gounon has had a couple of incidents throughout practice. I'm worried about him. Maybe, now here's just maybe what happened to the Ferrari. And you can see, yes, a little bit of contact between 2 of the Ferraris right there. He spins around without even going off the track, so no problem. No damage with the tires, no flat spotting, nothing. He can rejoin.
I believe that's Didier Tays of Belgium, vastly experienced in these Ferrari 333 SBs. First time down the Corkscrew as the field streams downhill toward the very quick turn number 10.
And that, okay, now we're back on board 43. This is Bill Auberlin's viewpoint, and he too has made a brilliant start. The car right ahead is the Dams Lola, and you're going to watch the differences in horsepower on the front straight. You're on board a V12. The car up ahead is one of the V10 Judd engines. These things make enormous horsepower. They're just so impressive, and the sound, well, you got to buy it.
Right up around 750 horsepower or more in these cars in their sprint condition as opposed to the long distance events. 1 lap now complete here at Laguna.
And the car in 4th place, that was our early season Road Atlanta winner. The FINA sponsored car right there, Mimo Sganarellas, I believe that's his car. Yes, it is. They're running in 4th place, and strangely enough, the 42 car, the car that I had expected to make a real charge for the run, he has dropped back to 5th. This is very uncharacteristic right now.
Up the hill they climb through turn number number 6, very quick left-hander. Watch out for an expansive gravel trap on the right. Over a blind brow. The track moves, but the driver really doesn't steer any differently into the braking area for this plunge downhill at the Corkscrew.
The Paynoses have been so impressive at this particular section of track all weekend long. They have this huge tray that you see extending out from the front of the car. You could almost stand on it and have your lunch if you wanted. But what that's designed to do is to generate tremendous downforce. It doesn't allow air to spill under the car. And where that translates into speed is in these high-speed sweepers as they run down out of that Corkscrew area. They are visibly faster than anybody else, and it literally makes it impossible to get past that section of track.
There you see the speeds at the upper left, averaging over 102 miles an hour among the leaders in the prototype category. You should look at Eric Bernard, who spent years with Gerard Larousse's team in Formula One. Suffered a bad accident at Suzuka, Japan, a broken leg that kept him out of racing for over a year. But he, like several other drivers in this field, has come into his own here in sports cars. The American Le Mans Series now in round 7. We'll take a break and return with more from Northern California. You're watching the American Le Mans Series on CNBC. The American Le Mans Series on CNBC is brought to you by Olive Garden. When you're here, you're family. By Porsche, who wishes to remind you there is no substitute. And by Michelin, because so much is riding on your tires. Back at beautiful Laguna Seca, the Visa Sports Car Championships. Bob Marshall along with Bill Adam with you here on CNBC. On board now with the race leader, Johnny O'Connell, originally from California, now makes his home in Flowery Branch, Georgia, not far from the Panos Motorsports shops. Watch that helmet as we're looking through his roll hoop with the help of the onboard camera. He is really getting bounced around in that car.
It's incredible. And what this does eventually is to wear on you. Your physical fitness has to be right on the mark all the time because the vibration, the pounding back and forth, and of course, with the G loading, these cars are capable of almost 3 G's cornering speed, which in effect means your body triples its weight. The helmet, by the end of this race, feels like it has tripled its weight.
Meanwhile, we've had our first key moment of attrition in this race. With more on that, here's Martin Haven.
Guys, the 75 car has disappeared from this race with just a couple of laps run. Jean-Marc Gounon, its French driver, selected 4th gear, and there was nothing there to be selected. He came in with a dead motor, a dead transmission. It's got electrics, he can start the engine, but it won't go anywhere this afternoon.
Oh, that is a shame. What a great combination. That Lola chassis with the Judd V10 Formula One derived engine. Meanwhile, up front, Johnny O'Connell right there in the number 2 prototype, closing in on a slower car. Just behind him is our pole sitter, Eric Bernard. And Bernard is up close. That looks very aggressive for 2 guys who are basically running the wedge, if you will, for their teammate, David Brabham, second in the championship.
And I think that perhaps the Laguna Seca track is the most difficult of all tracks in the aspect of the potential of getting contact with a slower car. Somebody are laughing. The difficulty here is because there really is no long straight. You're passing in areas where you've got hills behind you, a lot of different things to obscure your vision. And some of the slower cars, even though they're going as fast as possible, they still have to concentrate on what's ahead. They have to look and see where their turn-in point is, where their apex. They can't concentrate all the time on the mirror, and the contact out here is frequent.
More traffic ahead as they work their way through turn number 5 and begin the uphill climb. And here's our leader in the GTS category. They started from pole position, the number 91 of Olivier Beretta and Carl Wendlinger, shown 19th overall. Beretta, although he leads the championship, is starting the car. I find that kind of unusual as we look at the GTS class standings. His teammate in the sister car, David Donahue, runs in second.
Yeah, this is always one of the difficult choices for a team manager. Do you take your best driver? And Beretta, without question, has been the fastest, the most consistent driver of this Viper team all year long. Do you take him and start the race? Maybe getting him into a position where through contact or through attrition he is out and loses all those valuable championship points. That's a tough thing to do, but I think they make the right decision with this. Because of the probability of contact, you put the greatest talent out first while most of the cars are on the track.
Now you see the beautiful new Goodwrench Corvettes. First Chevrolet factory Corvette effort in decades in the hands of vastly experienced Canadian Ron Fellows.
And this actually is a brand new car. We have seen it make a couple of appearances earlier on, but they have finally tried to match some of the Viper horsepower. One of the things with the Vipers, they have this massive 8-liter V10 engine that it's simply a ton of torque, a lot of horsepower. The Corvettes have gone from their 6-liter motor all the way up to 7-liter. So this is to try and offset it, right? Bigger is better in this case.
Now let's pick up our GT category. The leader in that class once again was the pole-sitting car. There is the speed differential of the big prototypes as the leaders go by Dirk Mueller from Cologne, Germany, who came here to Laguna Seca for his first visit with a very heavy head cold. He's been struggling with it all weekend. As we look at the GT class structure in the upper left, those negative numbers are the time in seconds behind the leader in the class.
Just a great demonstration there of the speed of the prototype cars. You're on board the roof cam as we come down through the corkscrew on Mueller's car. Now, he is the fastest car in class. This is a blindingly quick little Porsche. But Bill Oberlin and the other Panos car just came flying past him. They blasted out. They're gone from sight even.
As an example, one of the few with a new Porsche 911 GT3R, making over 410 horses from that classic Porsche horizontally opposed 6-cylinder 3.6-liter engine. Running second in the class, Johnny Mullen from England in another Porsche. The older RSR model, that's the number 02 car. And third is Sasha Massin from Europe in the number 25 car. Yet another Porsche. Now we're on board with one of the PTG BMWs. Hans Stuck, former World Sports Car Champion.
Can almost hear him yodeling even as we watch him out there playing around. Stuckey loves this kind of thing. He's out there having a good time. What he wants to do right now is to let the race settle down, not overstress the car, drive it as quickly as he can without risking anything at all. Hans is such a veteran, a world champion, folks. This guy is just simply the best you could possibly find.
He has won 3 times previously here at Laguna Seca, has Hans Stuck. The first time going all the way back to 1975 when he took his first Laguna victory in a BMW. Down the corkscrew goes Stuck, one of his favorite corners in all the world of motorsports. There are your leaders in the overall. We'll be back to Laguna Seca shortly. Welcome back to Laguna Seca Raceway, where the Visa Sports Car Championships continue on the American Le Mans Series on CNBC. Moments ago, we had a lead change that had a big impact not only on the race, but on the championship. You ride on board with Johnny O'Connell, who had the lead previously, but he no longer holds it. Let's take another look at what happened, Bill Adam.
One of the problems of traffic, you never know which way they're going to go. Johnny is getting pointed one side, tries to make a desperation move, gets bad device. His teammate gets advantage, goes down the inside, takes over the lead.
That means that Eric Bernard will go around to lead a lap, pick up a bonus point for doing it, and tie him with teammate David Brabham. Now, we also had some action in the pits. This is Eric Van de Poel in that Team Raffinelli Judd-powered Lola chassis that came in. It appears to be an exhaust problem, and the team needed to rewire it to get their man back on the track. Now, back to this bonus point issue. I'll get back to that in a moment as we watch one of the best battles on the racetrack. Oh, and there was almost contact there between the 38 Porsche.
Yeah, and once again, you can see the problems of traffic. Now, look at it, almost 3 cars wide going into the corner there. Alan McNeish in the 38, he is about to fight every battle he can. He is not necessarily trying to hold up Bill Oberlin. As we're on board that BMW right now, the 43 car, Bill Oberlin here, is in this huge battle with the Panos that now has really pulled out a good 2 or 3 second lead. So Oberlin just being held up a bit by McNeish in the champion Porsche. Yeah,
and that's why he's waving.
Waving his arm, saying, would you mind moving the car over just a tiny bit? Or else I'll have to show you my BMW front bumper. And blocked again. Now watch out here, Bill. Oh, it's just such a difficult track. Again, with so few straights here, you have to take chances. You got to force the car to areas where you really don't want to do it. But simply, if you don't, you're going to get stuck behind a slower car, and it may cost you 2-3 seconds a lap. It just ruins your day.
Say that for Alan McNish, though. They have been struggling with that Porsche 911 to get that car to ride well around this circuit. Now here's another battle, the 11 and the 16 cars. This is Max Angelelli in the Olive Garden Porsche, the 11 car, battling with James Weaver, and this is now for 5th place. Why is that significant? Because James Weaver is driving the car that Elliott Forbes Robinson, the prototype and overall class leader, will get into, and they have come from 11th to battle over 5th.
Wow. And again, I think this car here, the Olive Garden Ferrari, appears to be suffering by a ton of understeer pushes, as it's known in NASCAR. You watch the amount that he has to put in the wheel as he goes into a very tight corner. Up ahead is the real tight hairpin. Watch this. We'll try and get back to that. But the car doesn't appear to be having a really good front-end grip on it. Oh, and a lot of smoke off the back of Weaver's car there under hard braking. I think he may just have locked up the rear brakes. That didn't look like engine smoke, but dramatically different cars, as you pointed out earlier, Bob. The Ferrari being a 4-liter V12, very, very exotic motor. The engine in Weaver's car, pushrod Ford, so not only different chassis, different motors. The Ferrari is on Pirelli tires, good Italian tire. The Dyson car is on All American Eagle, Goodyear. Differences all around.
Parallels go on and on, but both of these cars, the drivers will be the first to tell you, are dated technology. The Ferrari's now 6 years old. The engine came from the old Ferrari F130 program, 5 valves per cylinder, but technology moves on very, very quickly. And that Riley and Scott Ford cannot accommodate a larger engine. The car is just not designed for it.
Okay, now we're back in the Ferrari. You can see what I was talking about earlier. Watch the amount of wheel input right here. Now look, hands are completely crossed right there. Look, the front end just does not want to bite. And you can take a look at whatever happens to interest you. You can see RPM. You'll sometimes see them get up to 10,000 RPM, well over 10,000. Look at the speed through the corner here, about 120 miles an hour, and you'll accelerate back up again. Down the lowest point of the course, right here. This is the very slowest point, and he was down to about 37 miles an hour for a second. But now look at the speed climbing up. He's down the front straight, 110, 120, 130.
And those RPMs just above, going up to about 10,500 RPMs. Thanks to Motec Engine Technology for providing us with this telemetry.
Yeah, see the G loading down the bottom as this graph moves around. That is neutral right in the middle. Now here he's in a right, and as you see it creeping over there towards 2.5, maybe not quite up to 3 Gs, but very, very strong.
Oh, trouble on the racetrack. One of the GT BMWs,
boy.
and Hans Stuck will climb out. What a disappointment.
Well, his day is certainly over. You can see him trying to get out there. He's so tall. I think Hans is about 11'5", and
he is out there right at turn 5, just before they turn uphill. That's about as far from the pits as you could get here at Laguna Seca.
Whoops, what are you doing there, Hans?
I'd be looking for something to do a little work on the car.
I think that's exactly what he's doing. You can see him pulling the hood pins out, and he'll open up and try and fix something. I wonder if maybe something simple like a throttle cable came off. Every once in a while.
See the traffic passing by. That is a fairly dangerous location on the racetrack.
Well, at least the good thing, Bob, he is off on the left side of the track. Under braking coming up to this corner, you would want to have your car positioned on the right side. So the cars will be a long way away, but still, anytime you've got cars under braking, you of course stand the potential of being hit by those cars. So Hans has to be pretty careful at this point.
Now the driver becomes a mechanic. Married back on August 28th to his longtime companion, Sylvia. What he's looking for on the other side of that wall.
I think he's looking for a toolbox or something
or
or other, but maybe something to jam the throttle. That would certainly be my guess.
Well, we'll leave Hans to his work for a moment and take a break. We'll return to Laguna Seca. You're watching the American Le Mans Series here on CNBC. We'll be right back. Here's a program note. The Fighting Irish of Notre Dame return to NBC next Saturday at 2:30 Eastern Time as they face the Trojans of USC. In the team's 54th consecutive yearly meeting, Notre Dame, led by quarterback Jarius Jackson, looks to avenge their crushing 10-0 loss to the Trojans of a year ago. That's USC versus Notre Dame, a college football classic, next Saturday at 2:30 Eastern on NBC. Welcome back to Le Mans. You're looking at the race leader, the number 43 BMW, in the hands of Redondo Beach, California's Bill Auberlen, and he's about to make his first scheduled pit stop.
Well, he just pitched off the seatbelt there. Now, there's the advice. What he has to do, all of those things are electronic pieces on the car. Let's get down to Martin David.
Well, guys, they're doing a driver change on the 43 car, and it looks like they're doing a tyre change. At the beginning of the race, the Michelin engineers suggested that the BMWs would double stint their tyres. This car started on hard tyres. JJ Leto's car, which is already started on soft tyres, but they did a 4-tyre change for Leto. He stayed in the car. Auberlen hands over the race-leading BMW to Winkelhock. And are they going to take tyres? No, they're going to double stint. There maybe is the tactical advantage of starting on harder compound rubber.
All right, thank you, Martin. Joe Winkelhock, Smokin' Joe, as he's known back in Germany after years of sedan racing, now heads back onto the racetrack. Now, there were 2 other pit stops while we were in break. The number 2 Panos pitted. Jan Magnussen took over, and he's coming around to the left of your screen as the BMW comes off the pit lane.
BMW will still be on cold tires, remember. Now, this should be a lead change we're watching right here. The Panos will be on hot rubber. He still has all the momentum going. This is going to be something where I think if Winkelhock is really smart, let him go by.
Magnussen in the number 2 Panos. The number 1 car also pitted, and David Brabham climbed aboard.
David Brabham just stuck the Panos a bit out of formation. They're just enough to fill the mirrors, the BMW, and let him know that he's back there. And maybe Brabham's going to play a bit of a mind game at this point. If you can see that big black nose coming up behind you, and of course, the orange stripes are there for a good reason. They occupy your mirrors to get your attention. He might try and play a bit of a head game with Winkelhock to maybe force him to make an error. Not a bad idea.
Went up the hill through turn 6. You saw a car way off on the right wobbling through the gravel trap. That was the all-new, one-of-a-kind Sintra S99 from England, a leader in the British Championships with Judd V10 power in the hands of Richard Dean and Kurt Luby. Oh, here's a problem. This is the 92. This is the second-place car in GTS in the hands of David Donahue.
Now that is the Bill Adam kiss of death. We were talking about how these cars have been just indestructible, and he looks like he's broken something on the right rear suspension. That's not a flat tire. The whole wheel is able to move forward on the axle, so under power, that thing is scrabbing, and I've had some Hertz rental cars do that. It's not fun.
Oh my, as though the car were steering from the rear. Brabham, Donahue, son of the late Mark Donahue, a racing champion here in America. One of many, many second and even third generation drivers in the field for today's race.
These cars have been remarkable this year. Since they've come on the scene, they have had pole position, virtually every, and there it is.
Magnussen in the Panos goes by Winkelhock to take over the lead.
Again, I don't think this is a bad idea for Winkelhock to do this at this stage. What he wants to do is maybe similar to what Auberlen did. Drive perfectly, just sit back, conserve the car, and we saw the kind of mileage that Auberlen got. He got tremendous fuel economy from his first stint. He is still on the same type of driving. Well, there's a lot of smoke coming out of the back of that car, right?
Here's another look at the pass. Check that, it's David Brabham in the number 1 car who goes past Winkelhock.
Clean pass under braking. Winkelhock saw him coming up, really gave him all the road he wanted. He didn't try and challenge him at all, so I think Winkelhock is going to do the smart thing. Just do the proper corporate idea right now. Don't stress the car.
Oh, and we got a wheel coming down the hill.
As a car leaves pit lane, somebody didn't get the wheel put on properly. So,
Second place, Panos goes by.
Oh, man. That's embarrassing. Get it. See if you can get it back on now. Okay, pull up real tight against the wall, jam it on that thing. I don't think that'll work. I think the wheel's winning the race though, Bob. He's going to get hit by his own wheel. He did too. Nicely done. Very good. He kept the wheel from going on the track. That is incredibly heads-up driving by that driver.
That is Chris Miller from the United States and the number 90 car sharing with David Friedman. And the 92 car now with David Donahue aboard has made it to the pit lane. will go to work. No doubt he's radioed in by this point what the problem is. Down to Martin Haven.
Well, guys, on the radio on the way back in between opposite locking this crabbing car around the track, David Donahue has let the team know he was hit in the right rear corner by the 0 car. That's the team Raffinelli, Riley and Scott Judd. It's broken the rear suspension. He's got 2 steering wheels at the front and a steering wheel at the back as well, which has a mind of its own. This is the shopping trolley from hell.
You saw Tommy Archer get out there and just wave his hands at the crew. No, I'm not getting in. We're in no rush. Meanwhile, the order has shifted. David Brabham is now in the lead over Joachim Winkelhock, and Jan Magnussen has the second Panos team car in 3rd place. We'll take a break. Be back with more from Laguna Seca. There's your top 5. Welcome back to Laguna Seca. Next Saturday at 12 noon Eastern, Tim Duncan and the NBA champion San Antonio Spurs take it to the court as they challenge some of the world's best international basketball teams in the McDonald's Championship. That's the McDonald's Championship coming your way next Saturday at 12 noon Eastern on NBC. Here at the Visa Sports Car Championships at Laguna Seca on CNBC, we have had another lead change, and we have a car off. That's the number 38 Porsche in the hands of Ralph Kellners of Germany.
Well, from the damage on the front end, Bob, this is a very strange crash. It's more than just simply the nose piece coming loose. It almost looks like he might have tapped somebody in the front, folded the nose underneath, and that in turn has ripped the car away from the mounting points on the back of the hood.
It's just outside turn 10 at the bottom of the long downhill run down the Corkscrew. It could have happened anywhere along that downhill. They would have wound up in the same place.
Real mystery. I can't begin to imagine what caused that.
See the bodywork ripped away on the left side. Here's another look. There's the car at the middle of your screen. A BMW alongside.
Oh, and that's it. Well, we talked about that earlier. One of the dangers of trying to pass vehicles on this track, and that's all it took. Once he got knocked off track, that would have dug the nose. Keep in mind, these cars only have 1 to 2 inches ground clearance on the nose. They are deliberately made as low as possible. But when you get off and start plowing dirt, that's enough to rip the nose right off the car. Look at this. You can see it right there. He's virtually trying to cut grass. And as he tries to come back to pits, look at this. Unbelievable. You have got to realize that you're going over rough. Oh, and there's the right side. On the right side of the picture, you can see the nose starting to come up. Amazing.
In the pit lane, we have had one incident after another. The early laps here at Laguna Seca. Now let's take a look from Ralph Kellner's onboard camera.
Here's the opening that he sees up ahead. He's going to dive down the inside, and from your left, the BMW suddenly starts coming over way too late. Kellner's absolutely innocent at this point, and then, because of the momentum, he is forced off the road. And, oh, gee. That's probably about a $50,000 nose piece just getting torn up into turf.
It's the number 7 GT Class BMW in the hands of Ryan Cunningham. Let's get down to Martin Haven in the pits.
Well, guys, the team were here watching on the monitors, so they knew exactly what the damage was, courtesy of our slow-motion replays. The new nose is coming in as they have made the fuel the first stop. That's the story with the Le Mans rules. You have to fuel before you can touch the car. The old nose piece comes off. It's a couple of connectors. Most of them are broken off, and the new nose will go on. It looks as though Kellners is happy to stay in the car. But as we've said before, the chances with traffic causing you problems here are very high indeed. Further down the pit lane, there's more news.
Well, the number 7 BMW is in. There will be a driver change. This is Brian Cunningham will be going in the car, coming out as Mark Simo, fueling the car as required. They can't do any work on the car until the fueling process is over. If they get a penalty, the tire guys are standing by to change at least a couple of tires. It appears just rear tires being changed on the number 7 Yokohama car. So everything in good stead here, guys.
So is Mark Simo that was in the car. Ryan Cunningham will now take over. His grandfather, Briggs Cunningham, took America to Le Mans many, many years ago. There was the leader in the GT class, Dirk Mueller of Germany, who started the car, remains in for Kurt Wagner, the number 23 Porsche.
And so often we see it as not just simply a case of being the fastest driver on the track. You have to drive these things so intelligently. And way in the background, there's somebody else off playing in the dirt. Car completely obscured. This is a really high-speed section trying to go off. I'll bet he scared himself on that one. He's trying to get out, and if he's careful with the throttle and the clutch, he should be able to make it here. Just take it easy there, boy.
It's one of the big turbo GTS Porsche 911s. It's been absolutely crazy here at Laguna Seca. We'll take a break and return. You're watching the American Le Mans Series on CNBC. Welcome back to Laguna Seca Raceway in Monterey, California, where the Visa Sports Car Championships, round 7 of the American Le Mans Series on CNBC continues. I'm Bob Varsh along with Bill Adam, Mark Haven, Steve Evans in the pits. And our Panos teammates lead the race. Jan Magnussen got around his teammate David Brabham earlier. But there is controversy in the air now. Officials are warning that there will be black flags coming up for passing underneath local yellow flags. Let's learn more from Steve Evans in the pits.
Well, I'll tell you, here in the Panos pits, there's so many blonde heads. It looks like a surfer convention. And that's because before Petit Le Mans, all the crew members went to the drivers and said, beat those BMWs, we'll shave our heads. Don Panos says, no, I do not like shaved heads. We're all waiting here to see if the stop and go goes. But getting on with the story, Panos said, I don't like shaved heads, maybe go dye your hair. So they did, and he said, if you don't dye your hair, you're out of my will. So Don, if that's how you get into your will, just point me at the nearest sink. In fact, it says right here, only my hairdresser will know for sure. And to make it fair, I'll put you in my will. And we're still trying to see if the stop and go penalty is going to happen here, but apparently not yet anyway.
All right, thank you, Steve. We watch the cars come flying down the hill. And race leader Jan Magnussen goes by the pit entrance, so there will be no stop this time around for the young Dane. Experience both in champ cars here in America and Formula One. And he has been absolutely flying.
He has been flying. In fact, right there, you can see he's even getting into this corner so deep, he was locking the rear brakes just a tiny bit, getting the car sideways. And ever since he took over, he actually closed up behind the #1 car, and for a number of laps was following so close that I was quite surprised the team manager would even allow that would happen. Think of the worst possible scenario. If the lead car, the #1 car, had made a slight error, had got sideways, had hit somebody, potentially, with both cars being that close, they could both have been taken out of the race right away. Really shocking development, but Magnussen was able to go by, and he has stretched out a huge lead and is obviously still pushing very hard.
Fastest lap of the race thus far still belongs to Eric Bernard, our pole sitter, who ran 103.08 miles an hour for a single lap earlier in the race. And that's important because there is a bonus point that goes with fast lap of the race. Of course, we won't know who has it until the race is over. But by leading a lap, Eric Bernard picked up another bonus point, which brought him into a tie with teammate David Brabham for second in the Drivers' Championship. If he holds on to fast lap, he'll get another bonus point as Magnussen heads for the pit lane. Pitted right there at the entrance. And that puts his teammate David Brabham in the #1 Panos Ford back into the race lead.
Did the John Force burnout there, saying thank you to the official back there. Would you just love to drive that car in downtown Atlanta? Couldn't you have fun to sit at the stoplight alongside of whatever you happen to be alongside?
A 6-liter Ford V8 from the shops of NASCAR car owner and engine builder par excellence Robert Yates. Except with these 6 liters as opposed to the roughly 5-liter engines in the NASCAR Winston Cup Series for his drivers, including Dale Jarrett, the points leader. These babies are 6 liters with well over 700 horsepower.
Yeah, I would bet that they are being conservative. They're talking about 700 horsepower. What this will do now, though, having to stop and go, he will be back in 3rd place. So now, maybe he can put some of all this pushing and this aggressive driving that he was showing to good use. I didn't understand why he was running this as hard as he was doing, because ideally, once you've established a lead, take it easy. Don't stress it.
At this point, David Brabham is getting his lead lap bonus point, snapping that tie with his teammate Eric Bernard. Bill mentioned Jan Magnussen has dropped to 3rd place. The behind the BMW of J.J. Leto and his co-driver Steve Soper. Second place is the highest they've run thus far. That's a bit of a surprise to me, Bill. We expected them to run hard from the start.
I did as well. Leto and Soper had chosen to go with the softer rubber tires. Normally, this is with the fast setup, but instead the teammates went on hard rubber, and Bill Oberlin, as we saw, ran away from Leto early on.
And there is J.J. Leto swinging into view in second place as we go on board with the number 11 car, Max Angelelli. And the reason we're doing this is to point out an important program from the Olive Garden, sponsors of this Doyle Reese Ferrari team. For each lap that the two cars complete in competition, another Bay Area needy family will be treated to a free meal at an Olive Garden restaurant near them. Potentially as many as 170 families in this area will be fed as a result of today's race. Since the program began in April, 944 families have been fed. That's just a part of the Good Neighbor program from Olive Garden as a part of the American Le Mans Series in 1999. So a tip of the helmet to them. We've got another break coming up, and we will be back as you watch the American Le Mans Series on CNBC. Don't go away. Welcome back live to Laguna Seca Raceway as the American Le Mans Series Visa Sports Car Championships continue here on CNBC. And we have a great battle going on for the overall race lead as the second round of pit stops begin to become a factor. There is David Brabham, second in the points championship, first on the racetrack, and just behind him, the Finn, the flying Finn, J.J. Leto, and that beautiful white BMW. That's the way the gap has fluctuated in the last 3 laps. Now, Leto has been very coy since the beginning of this race. He started third, but dropped back as far as fifth, nearly 20 seconds behind the leaders. He has charged back up, and now he will make his stop.
He is diving into pits. Now remember, he started this race on softer Michelin tires than anybody else. Let's just watch and see if they change. This could be critical.
Down to Martin Haven.
Driver changes. J.J. Leto, who's done the first 2 stints, jumps out, and British colleague Steve Soper gets in. Now, they did start on a different set of tyres to the one that are on now. They changed from J.J.'s first choice to the setup that Bill Oberlin had at the start of the race in the 43 car when they made their first stop. That set seems to be working much better, and they are not going to change this asymmetric set of Michelins. They've got 4 different compounds, one on each corner of the car. Away goes Soper.
Well, you mentioned the tire brand Michelin. Michelin has put a tremendous effort into the American Le Mans Series. They turn up with so many compounds and constructions, they've given their teams as many as 80 or more different combinations of tires to put on their cars in these races. So you can't just go over
and cold tires. That's the problem. He's coming out of the pits. He has cold tires, did not get good traction coming out of that exit. That could have been just a big incident. He got away with it, though. No damage on the nose of the car.
That pit exit tightens up as you get toward the racetrack down there in the Andretti hairpin. Now there's Bill Oberlin climbing back into the sister BMW as Winkelhock climbs out.
Boy, oh boy, there was another BMW pit stop mistake.
To Martin. Apologize for a problem with Martin Haven's microphone as the pride of Redondo Beach, California, Bill Oberlin, smokes his way back into the pit lane. Keep in mind there is a pit lane speed limit, 50 miles an hour, as he heads for turn 1.
This has really been interesting. We saw as the race started, J.J. Leto was almost out of the picture, way back to 5th place, as you talked about, then seemingly got in the groove. Now, Bill Oberlin, on the other hand, was blindingly fast. He was just a heartbeat away from the lead. Now he's back in the car. Winkelhock, admittedly, I think, is going to say he was not comfortable on the track, but Bill, he's now getting back into this Tiger position.
Laying down 2 big streaks of Michelin rubber as he brings the car up to speed as quickly as possible. There is David Brabham in the race-leading Panos Ford, the number 1 car. He started on pole in the hands of Eric Renard, and now Brabham will pit. Now it's in the hands of the Panos crew. We'll see if they can hold the lead with this car after the service. Brabham will get out. Bernard will get back in.
Now he has got tires ready at least for the right side of the car, but notice there's none sitting on the left. Well, oh yes, yeah, there's a wrench getting ready, so I think they're going to do a 4-tire stop here.
42 is at the top of the corkscrew, about to come down. Steve Evans.
Well, it seems like it takes forever to get 90 liters of gasoline into these cars. The crew is ready to put tires on. Let's remember they double-standard on that first set of Michelin tires. You're right, Brabham is out. Eric Bernard is back in now. The air jacks come up, the tires go on. The 42 car coming around trying to hang on to the lead before the Paynos can get out of the pits. We'll see if he can do it. Everything is going along perfectly here. A wonderful stop, and it appears that they haven't wasted a fraction of a second here.
But Steve Soper came thundering down the hill, squirming under acceleration as he tried desperately to get back out in front. It appears that he has done that as Eric Bernard heads into the pit lane and back into the fight.
And this is the worst moment here, when you have to go down this huge length of pit lane on the rev limiter button so you're not exceeding speed. Oh, it feels like it takes forever. You are dying to get back to racing speed.
Let's see how Bernard handles the pit exit on cold tires.
Being very cautious down there. Yeah, he did. You can see the car, even as slow as he appears to be going, just doesn't want to get grip. The tires have got to get up to proper temperature before they really start grabbing well. And Soper has a huge lead. He appears to have about a half-lap lead.
So Steve Soper has taken over from J.J. Leto in the BMW to take the lead. We'll take a break and be right back. Don't go away. Le Mans 1958. It was Ferrari's time to take over at Les Arts. The pace was controlled by Mother Nature and by Phil Hill and Olivier Gendebien. Their Ferrari Testarossa was unstoppable, leading 21 of the race's 24 hours, 20 of them in the rain. The weather, along with the speed of the Ferraris, left 36 of the 56 starters by the wayside. The victory was the first for the legendary Testarossa and the first of 3 for the Hill-Gendebien partnership. Welcome back live to Laguna Seca Raceway, where Phil Hill made his name as a sports car driver. As you look down from high over Laguna Seca Raceway, now there's a problem with one of our prototype cars, Max Angelelli's Ferrari, Martin Haven.
No problem with Max. Guys, I'm sorry, there's no problem with Alex Caffey or the Olive Garden Ferrari. It's Massimiliano Angelelli, the driver who's just got out of the car, and he's been taken away to the infield medical center by the paramedics. Ambulance here on pit row. He is just so exhausted, he cannot even hold his head up.
Well, that's got to be something much greater than just the car itself. We saw him fighting the car all day long, and it obviously wasn't working well, but the temperature today has been so good. Very low humidity, perfect temperature for racing. I don't know, maybe he's picked up some sort of a bug or something, this Bob, something that really has just depleted his strength.
So that was Max Angelelli who had gotten out of the car. I wonder if it was perhaps the G-forces here with all of these 11 corners at the racetrack.
Shouldn't be. With the changes going back and forth, it does give your neck, your entire body a workout, but there's nothing really, there's no real long sustained corners, and those are the things that will really work on.
See the overall running order at the top left of your screen. I remember years ago at a race at Lime Rock Park in Connecticut, driver Bryce Cobb climbed out of a Porsche, said to our pit reporter, "I had to get out, I can't hold my head up." The reporter asked him, "How did you get hurt?" He said, "I'm not hurt, I just can't hold my head up."
He was embarrassed about something, obviously, and that was it. No, well, Lime Rock, of course, only has one left-hand corner, and the numerous right corners, including that downhill fast right onto the straight, they get you. But here, back and forth, so this has to be something very unusual for Angelelli.
This is a very, very physical exercise, driving state-of-the-art racing cars. Big crowd coming down the hill from the Corkscrew. Right in the middle of it, Steve Soper in the number 42 BMW LMP.
Yeah, the crowd today has been just so spectacular. They have brought, we've noticed an unusually large number of families here, lots of kids around. Boy, oh boy, for parents to bring kids out and see a race like this, they're going to spoil them because this is wonderful.
Let's pick up the GTS battle now. There is Olivier Beretta sharing that car with Austrian Karl Wendlinger on pole in the class and leading the class. Now, their sister car suffered a big mechanical problem in the hands of David Donahue earlier and was taken behind the wall. This team has won 4 straight races in the American Le Mans Series. Would love dearly to make it a 5th here. Running in second place in the class is Chris Neifel in that beautiful factory Corvette. Let's see if we can check that interval back to the Corvette.
That appears to be it. Thought I saw it right there. It obviously is. Yes, it is there.
There he is. Now, you might challenge Chris Neifel and his driving partner Ron Fellows to a motor race, but you would not want to challenge them to a game of half-court basketball. Chris Neifel is by far the tallest driver in this race at 6'6". Ron Fellows looks me right in the eye, and I'm about 6'4". So when I asked Chris and Ron which chassis they brought to this race, they said the tall car.
Yeah, the long one, I'll bet.
Full GTS class running order at the top left. You see David Donahue confirmed out of the race.
Well, this is the strongest we've seen this car run this year. We watched it back at Sears Point. We thought the car would perform pretty well, but obviously they have to be very pleased with the brand new 7-liter motor this weekend. That is keeping them much closer to the Viper. Now, on the other hand, I think maybe with Viper having lost one of the cars, they might be playing a little bit of a game of caution. Make sure the car finishes, try and win at the slowest possible speed.
Sort of an effort by General Motors to bring the U.S. flag back to Le Mans, much the same way that Ford did many years ago.
That is such a pretty car, too. Again, back at Sears Point, Steve Evans had a chance to look at the street model of that, and it was just stunningly beautiful.
He's putting a lap on the number 56 Porsche, which is the 3rd place car in the class. That car being shared by Martin Snow and Kelly Collins.
Well, they do. They're following the school of thought. In fact, they're fighting back. Gee, we just talk about them laughing, and all of a sudden the Porsche goes and takes it back. This is following the school of Elliott Forbes Robinson, where you may not win them all, but if you stay in and drive very consistently and keep getting seconds, thirds, fourths, you're going to stay in the championship hunt. Well, this is curious. The Porsche is actually pulling away now. I wonder if the Corvette is... they must be suffering some sort of a problem. Look at this gap. It is really lengthening just as we're watching.
It is Kelly Collins from Corona Del Mar, California at the controls. His teammate Martin Snow from Pleasant Grove, Utah, is second in the GTS Drivers' Championships, and Collins has plenty of reasons to hustle that car along. Bit of a tail wiggle there for the Corvette as Neifel works his way down the hill. He appears to have slowed a little bit. We'll take a break and return. You're watching the American Le Mans Series on CNBC. Back live at Laguna Seca Raceway, the American Le Mans Series Visa Sports Car Championships here on CNBC. Bob Varsha along with Bill Adam, Martin Snow, Martin Haven, not the race driver Martin Snow, and Steve Evans. Glad to have you with us on a beautiful day here on the Monterey Peninsula. There is the race leader, Steve Soper from England in the BMW. Let's check with the storylines we gave you at the top of the show. In the prototype championship battle, David Brabham and Eric Bernard now run in second place. Points leader by 1 over Brabham and Bernard. Elliott Forbes Robinson, his car is shown in 8th. Forbes Robinson just climbed out. James Weaver is back in the Dyson Racing entry. Wiley and Scott Chassis with a Ford 5.3-liter V8. The BMW strategy at this point has given them the race lead. 1st and 4th. Steve Soper driving the race leader. GTS class battle. Beretta and Wendlinger running in 1st. In their Orica Team Viper. Down through the Andretti hairpin goes Steve Soper.
Also, just before we went away, we saw the Corvette had come up and passed Martin Snow, which maybe made you bring him back to mind so quickly. Apparently, they did duck into the pits right then, took on fuel and tires, so the Corvette has come back on the track and has continued to run strongly again.
Coming down through turn 9. Watching the second place car in GT being overtaken and quickly by a Ferrari. That was from the number 6 6 BMW to the left of your screen there. Currently being driven by Brian Cunningham, grandson of Briggs Cunningham. In the GT class standings, David Murray runs in the race lead.
David Murray, a really talented driver. He is having an excellent run today. And David Murray's car, actually, just an interesting little comparison with the car that we've seen do so well this year, the Dirk Mueller Kurt Wagner car. It's slightly different. They can run under different sets of rules here, under the ACO rules, the European rules, or the actual rules running over here. So David Murray's cars, a little bit wider tires, and so on and so on. So he is doing a good job with that car. There it is right there, following the Corvette.
Murray has raced Porsches for years. He's also got some stock car experience. He's driven some open-wheel cars. He's been a driving instructor.
He does everything well.
This is his life. Overtaken by the race leader. Second in the GT class is Kurt Wagner in another Porsche, and Darrell Havens runs in third in yet another of the German brands.
No relation to Martin Havens, we have to point out.
Good look at David Murray.
Actually, I think that picture is the only one of David Murray not smiling, because he's got a perpetual smile on his face. He's one of the happier drivers on the track. It's funny, some people, David Murray is one of the drivers who just loves racing. He enjoys it so much. Other people, Bob Wallach, I don't think, well, okay, once in my life I saw Bob Wallach smile.
In victory lane, no doubt. The Porsche 911, perhaps the most decorated endurance racing sports car of all time. With various iterations. For decades, Porsche has prepared and sold these cars to be raced by customers. They've been the backbone of sports car racing for many, many years.
One of the other things helping David Murray today is that his car runs with ABS brakes, the anti-lock braking system. As the track continues to get worse and worse, the advantages of ABS become more and more apparent. You tend to lock wheels, particularly on circuits like this where the elevation changes. When the car is getting light, it's very easy to lock a wheel under braking, and if it stays locked, you can easily flat spot or even blow a tire. So that too will be helping David right now. A lot of the other cars out here do not have the luxury of ABS.
Now let's go down to the pit lane and Martin Haven.
Well, down here in the 0-2 pit with Johnny Molam. Johnny, you did the opening stint in the car. The car is much more competitive this weekend. Give us an idea why.
I think there's a lot of slow to medium speed turns here, and we've got the fatter tyres than the 996. Although they've got more straight line speed, we're in a better position through the corners, and our tyres hang on for a bit longer. So, plus the fact that both David and I have really worked hard with the team and everyone at Rise of Callis to get the car completely sorted. So it's nice to be right up there. We were quickest in qualifying yesterday, but unfortunately Dirk went a bit quicker the day before, so he started second next to him. I knew that I had to give David Murray a bit of a lead, because we have to stop twice, because we're not in a position to go the whole way with one stop. So it's going to be touch and go, but David will do a good job, and I'm glad I handed the car over to him in the lead.
Well, Johnny's family will be watching back home in Europe, so I'm sure they wish you very good luck. Let's hope it continues for you.
All right, thank you, Martin. The number 23 Porsche is running along with the BMW, carrying this camera, the number 6 car. As you look back at the second place car in the class, the number 23 almost took a nudge there from one of the BMWs. You see the number 6. We had a problem with a throttle linkage. We saw Hans Stuck leaning over the concrete wall at trackside. Turns out he was gathering up rocks to prop up that linkage until he could get the car back around to the pits. They are running well back in class now as they head up the hill. The car does not appear to be handling well. We are deep into the second half of this race. We'll be back with more from Laguna Seca.
Said, with a smirk and a pocket full of quarters. I'm going to hang around with Joe Weidenstall when I go to Vegas. I have seen the light. Actually, I think Bob did that earlier, but he can do it again.
Actually, I don't think we're on the air.
Okay. What's that gap saying? 16 seconds?
Which? 10 or 16. Okay. Do the promo first, then explain the San Diego. Welcome back. Auto racing returns to CNBC on Sunday, November 7th for the American Le Mans Series Grand Prix of Las Vegas. Final round of the season, the buck stops in Vegas. Championships will be decided at the beautiful Las Vegas Motor Speedway. That's the Grand Prix of Las Vegas, Sunday, November 7th on CNBC. Check your local listing for the times in your area. Now, you American Le Mans Series fans out there are saying, wait a minute, I thought San Diego was going to be the final round of the season. Well, that was to be a brand new temporary street circuit in San Diego. Construction delays have made that impossible. So San Diego goes on the schedule in February of next year as the first race of the year 2000 season. And we will be in glittering Las Vegas here on CNBC. We hope you'll join us. Overall race lead in the upper left. Wayne Taylor, many-time sports car champion in his Ferrari, runs in 7th place. Watching the race leader, Steve Soper from England, the number 42 BMW Le Mans prototype.
They continue to be very, very impressive when things are going well. And Soper right now is stretching just a very slight lead. A little wiggle on the car there, so he's pushing hard but driving really smoothly and making a perfect teammate for later.
This is the state-of-the-art in racing sports cars. This car engineered by Williams Formula One Grand Prix Engineering in Grove, England. Several members of the Williams company are here tending to the car. And its sister, the number 43, currently is shown in 4th place overall, sandwiching the numbers 1 and 2 Panos Fords.
I would like to know the level of tension down in the BMW pit right now, because they have seen these leads evaporate right before their eyes. They're in 2nd place. That's the car that they would love to hex.
It would appear that Eric Bernard is closing up on race leader Steve Soper. The driver's position in these American horsepower, American cars over on the left side. That's not the traditional spot in sports car racing. Normally the driver is on the right.
Yeah, that's true. That's interesting right there. I had actually thought that Soper was pulling away. I looked at the gap between laps, but I hadn't looked back far enough, and you're correct. He's doing a good job pulling it back in.
And his teammate is standing by in the pits with Steve Evans.
He is indeed. There's a feeling of frustration, I think, here in the Panos pit. And look at the watch. Eric is driving the wheels off of that car.
Yeah, no, Eric's doing a great job, and he's on fresher tyres, so that is obviously an advantage. And obviously, I'd like to see us in front, but I think it'll be really interesting when we get towards the end of the race. You know, the Vistian Panos car's running strong, and there's nothing wrong with it when I drove it, so we just have to wait and see.
What would you give right now for a full course yellow?
Well, I mean, it certainly would help, but, you know, if it doesn't, we just have to keep pushing. And, you know, Eric's on new Michelins, and they're performing really well, so we just have to keep pushing.
Okay, keep pushing. That's the motto down here.
All right, thanks very much, Steve. Once more across the start-finish line, flying over the hill that makes up turn 1, and then hard on the brakes for turn 2, the Andretti hairpin here at Laguna Seca.
Brabham's getting really good getting all the sponsors at in these interviews. He just slides those things in just sideways. How is your Motorola microphone working there, Bob?
Well, you'd expect nothing less from the son of Blackjack Brabham, 3-time Formula One world champion, as we pick up the second of the 2 Panos cars. This is Johnny O'Connell in 3rd place overall. Team today with Jan Magnussen, who also drove this car very, very hard. He's running about 37 seconds behind race leader Soper right now. And now we go on board with the 4th place car, Bill Auberlen, with that rear view mirror perched way up high in the style of the old Can-Am cars that once thundered around Laguna Seca.
And Bill is not a great distance behind the O'Connell Panos either. He is well within shooting distance of that car, so I think he should start pushing pretty hard in the near future. He will be also in touch with his pit crew, keeping advised of fuel situation, how much is left on board, and he can monitor his own progress as far as RPM, how high to rev it, because the higher you rev it, the more fuel you burn.
Pick up the next car in line. There is the number 36 Ferrari in 5th place in the hands of Stefan Johansson, who's been doing this at the very highest levels for some 2.5 decades now. He has driven everything.
That was kind of interesting to watch. Watch Stefan. He tried to go inside, outside, and finally back inside to make that pass.
Plunging downhill now, Stefan has driven for Ferrari, McLaren, Toyota, Porsche, Audi, Mercedes, Nissan, Mazda, you name it. Let's pick up the 6th place car now, the number 11 Olive Garden Ferrari. The car currently being driven by Belgian Didier de Radigues. 6th place overall, and a couple of laps down to the race leader.
Closing speeds down to this section, they are enormous. The differences from the P's down to the GTS and GT cars. One more time out of the front straight.
Running in 7th place behind de Radigues is the sister car, Wayne Taylor. South African Wayne Taylor went to the same school in East London, South Africa. For a long time, the home of the South African Formula One Grand Prix. Same school as perhaps the greatest racing driver in South African history, Jody Scheckter, and his brother Ian as well. Pick up 8th place. That is the Dyson Racing Riley and Scott chassis with Ford power in the hands of James Weaver. And as you can see, he is battling with Wayne Taylor for that spot.
This will be fun for both these drivers. Wayne Taylor, he has just had such a frustrating year. When they strangled the Ferraris by reducing the opening, the intake size for air going into these motors, it basically took away a huge chunk of horsepower and equalized everything. Look at this. Here's the drag race. Boy, oh boy.
Weaver with a quick look over at his rival.
I like that, James.
Now what will happen under braking in 2?
Good job. Well, 2 different chassis, 2 different motors, 2 different brands of tires once again.
And that is one of the attractions of the American Le Mans Series and sports car racing in general. The cars, they are absolutely amazing. The engineering, the variety, the shapes are as sensual as they could be, and the racing is spectacular.
It is so much fun for the fans to come here and watch them different ways. Different drivers, of course, drive them all differently, but sometimes you have to drive different on chassis. Here we're looking at a Riley and Scott chassis. A moment ago we looked at the Ferrari. It's Butch Leitzinger. He is also one of the real hot young American chargers.
Butch Leitzinger will make his debut in the Sports Car Club of America Trans Am Series in their season finale in a week's time. He's won many championships, both in smaller sports cars and in these big prototypes. He too is a second-generation driver. His father, Bob Leitzinger, was a champion in his own right.
And Bob always said, yeah, my son isn't as fast as I was.
Now here is an interesting piece talking about sports cars and the variety. This is the all-new and one-of-a-kind Centura with a Judd V10 from England. Centra S99 that has won at Silverstone Circuit in England in the British Sports Car Series. They have the car over here in the hands of yet another second-generation driver, Richard Dean, sharing with Kurt Luby, looking for customers to field this car in the future. We'll take a break and return to Laguna Seca as the minutes tick away here at the Visa Sports Car Championships. Stay right there. Welcome back. You're watching live at Laguna Seca Raceway, the Visa Sports Car Championships. 7th round of the American Le Mans Series for 1999 here on CNBC. Steve Soper puts the left side wheels of that beautiful BMW LMP off on the left. The Englishman is pushing very hard.
He is. He continues to really charge, and for good reason, because second place, the gap is coming down every single lap. The Panos now is just over 11 seconds behind. So this is developing into a wonderful battle. And the guys in the BMW pits are going, no, not again. Are we going to lose another one? So they have to be going a little bit frantic. This is so wonderful. Not that long ago here at Laguna Seca, they had the historics. All of these cars that people say, oh, you remember the days when? Well, the cars we're watching right now, you can bet they are currently the most gorgeous cars in the world. These things are just breathtaking.
Monterey Historic Festival and Concours d'Elegance is one of the key worldwide motorsports events. One of the features this year was Pete Lovely driving a Lotus 49 that Jim Clark, the late Jim Clark, took to victory at Zandvoort. First victory for the Cosworth DF series of engines that have won so many Formula One races over the year. Pete Lovely won the very first race held here at Laguna Seca Raceway, November 9th, 1957 in a Ferrari.
Jimmy Clark was my hero.
Checking the GT class running order at the upper left. As we look down from high overhead.
This is a great idea. Look at the speed differential. Now, that Celine Mustang is a blindingly fast car, but watch as we pan ahead. Now, look way, way ahead of the track as we're going around here, and watch the white car, the BMW. We'll see if we can just try to show you that differential. There he is, just going up the hill. You can see him passing a slow car. That's up at the Corkscrew. Now, there's our leader. He's going down to the Corkscrew, and not all that far behind him. This big black menace at Panos is coming along.
I mentioned that Celine Mustang has had mechanical problems all day. One of the owners of that car is television star Tim Allen, home improvement sitcom fame. Tim is a racing driver, but this weekend he has not raced. He was taken to the hospital for an appendectomy night before last. I'm sure he's tuned in, though, and Tim, you're missed out here.
Which was undoubtedly performed using Binford tools.
We'll keep an eye on that gap. Soper. There's a look at the 55 Celine Mustang.
With a loose hood on it, I think. A little bit of smoke coming out the back also.
I'm sure Martin knows more about that. Martin?
Guys, the 55 car had a problem right from the word go. They were in the first few minutes of this race. They lost the throttle position sensor. That's an electronic device on the engine that tells the computer that runs the engine where the throttle is, flat to the floor or completely off. And it wasn't reading anything other than full power or no power at all, which made it kind of interesting for the first couple of laps for Ron Johnson. He brought it in. They had a long stop to fix that. But the long-term legacy of that is they now have a V7 Mustang. It burnt a piston. It's running on 7. So the speed differential between it and the rest of the field is even greater than it otherwise would be.
I don't think that'd be very much fun, Martin. You either get 0 horsepower or 700 horsepower. There is nothing in between.
That car being shared by Ron Johnson from Laguna Beach, California, and Terry Borcheller from Phoenix, Arizona.
Interesting shot on the aerodynamics right there as he comes up the hill, Bob, at high speed. You can see the vacuum actually pulling the hood up.
Let's go back up front now, flashing down toward the Andretti hairpin. Comes Steve Soper in the BMW. BMW looking forward to the year 2000 when they will enter Formula One competition on the world stage with the Williams team to help design and construct this car.
This is a beautiful piece of work. You could see all of the fans today as they go by the garage area where they were able to get a look up close. The quality of finish on these cars is so impressive. The carbon fiber work, it's something you put in your living room and be proud of. Of course, I parked that in my living room and be proud of it.
There's been a hospitalization in the history of this team recently, too. BMW Director of Motorsports and former Formula One star Gerhard Berger of Austria recently went through some surgery to remove a kidney stone. He is back at the controls. The interesting personalities in motorsports. Gerhard Berger. We'll take a break. More to come from Laguna Seca. Stay with us. Over the next 12 months, this piece of land on the exotic Caribbean island of Aruba will be transformed into a state-of-the-art motor racing complex under the direction of veteran Miami developer and race promoter Ralph Sanchez.
The idea might be beautiful, the concept is good, but if you haven't got the soul and the man and the brains behind it, you're risking a lot. And I think with Ralph Sanchez, we are in place.
And this region has 480 million people that consume the same products that our sponsors want to sell back in the United States. So this would be a trigger for additional development of racetracks and additional racing in the Latin American area.
Ralph Sanchez has done a hell of a deal in putting that together. I haven't had a chance to see it yet, but I'm going down in the next month. But Bill Donaldson was there, and it's going to be a very attractive facility.
And why are we telling you about the new Aruba Motorsports Complex? Well, we mentioned San Diego will kick off the year 2000 American Le Mans Series schedule. In the year 2001, we will begin at the new Aruba complex. And I can tell you just about everybody in the paddock is looking forward to that one.
It's going to see a revolution in mechanics because about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, instead of working overtime, every mechanic will be heading to the beach of the windsurfer saying, "See ya, boss."
Betcha. Flashing up the hill into the braking area, world famous Corkscrew. This is Steve Soper. Elevator going down. Notice that interval. It had jumped up nearly 2 seconds. Now it has closed up once again, no doubt due to traffic.
Boy, well, Soper, look at this. Man, he is continuing to push really, really hard. He has got right around the outside of the GT leader coming down out of the Corkscrew, so he's not taking any possible chance of allowing the Panos to catch him, but he is risking a lot.
That was David Murray in the GT class leading Porsche that he went around.
Deep braking down into the corner here one more time.
Well, no matter what happens, oops, action in the pits, the car number 11. Angelelli and Rodriguez is behind the wall, being pushed back. Some sort of terminal problem.
Time to go to the Olive Garden for dinner, I think, and stoke up, get the pasta out.
Well, that's a shame.
They had a good run going today.
Those Ferrari 333 SPs are extraordinary cars. 333 is the numerical designation for the displacement in each of the 12 cylinders in that car. SP means sports prototype. Eric Bernard now in the second place Panos, as he is up at the top of the hill, headed for the Corkscrew. Martin Haven, what can you tell us?
Well, guys, there may be a potential fuel problem developing for the Panos. The Robert Yates guys who run the engines, the V8 Fords in these Panos cars, may feel the need to call them in the dying laps. As far as Schnitzer boss Charlie Lamb is concerned, BMW have enough on board to run to the flag. But it looks as though they may need some Bobby Labonte-style tactics, running those Roush V8s to the end of the race here. Fuel economy may perhaps hand the race yet to BMW.
Well, they're not going to be Bobby Labonte tactics, and they won't be Roush engines either, Martin. So
that'd be a little Dale Jarrett or Kenny Irwin.
Yeah, that's a possibility. I'm really surprised too, because Laguna is a track, because you're on and off the throttle so frequently, you don't use up as much fuel as you do on other tracks. And these Panos with Robert Yates motors have had incredibly good mileage all year long.
Another couple of tenths shaved off by Eric Bernard right there in the middle of your screen. The gap is a large one now, and in the pit lane, I'm sure they'll start looking at their watches, calculating whether the Frenchman can run down the Englishman.
And to see who they can pay to spin out on the front straight to create the yellow flag that would bring everything back into order. Right now, it looks very, well, I'm afraid to say it. You say it looks good for BMW, and it's a kiss of death.
Overall running order at the upper left. Down the hill comes Eric Bernard. Much hanging on this position in the race, and if he has a fuel problem, it could have a tremendous impact on the championship. We'll take a break and return with more live from the Visa Sports Car Championships. Here's your top 5. We are back live at Laguna Seca, the Visa Sports Car Championships on the American Le Mans Series Trail here on CNBC, and we have had a dramatic twist. There you are looking at the number 42 car in the hands of Steve Soper, but as you see, he is now second to Eric Bernard in the Panos.
I have been talking about how hard Soper was continuing to push, and sometimes this rears up and bites you. You're going to take a look. When Soper comes down out of the hairpin, the area where he's been pushing hard all day, look how wide he gets. The car snaps on him, he overcorrects for a moment, and suddenly disaster. He has got zero traction, spinning around. Lock up the brakes, Steve. Look at this, all the wheels are dead stop. He wants to make sure he stays on the pavement as long as possible to scrub off speed, and narrowly avoids getting T-boned by one of the Ferraris. Now he's got to get this thing fired up because he knows the Panos is coming down the hill. Here he is. He's got to get the car turned around, do a quick spin, but watch in the background, you're going to see this black shape coming down, and whoosh, there we go. There's the lead right there. It has struck again, the BMW Lightning. Unbelievable.
Here's another look as he gets the car pointed backwards on the racetrack, so he's going to drop the clutch, spin it back around. Here comes Bernard following the Porsche 911 down the hill.
Oh, my.
And you have to wonder about the condition of Soper's tires now. He's probably squared them off. As you see Bernard to the left of your screen, assuming the race lead, and this taking place with about 11 minutes to go in the race.
Just incredible. Well, I think we're going to see J.J. Leto petition to get these races where he can drive them by himself. Leto is going to be going crazy because twice now, 2 straight American Le Mans races, we have seen the lead being thrown away by Leto's co-driver. A huge mistake. Soper had been pushing hard, which was the right thing to do, but there's always the fine line. Mueller went over it at Atlanta, lost the race, gave it away, threw it away, and now it looks like Soper is giving every chance in the world back to Panos to win this thing.
And it is always the Panos team that seems to benefit. At the Petit Le Mans at Road Atlanta, after nearly 9 hours of racing, as Bill Adam mentioned, Jörg Mueller ran the car off the racetrack. J.J. Leto was so upset, he left the team transporter, left the pit, walked away. And he did not notice that Mueller was able to get the car back on the track to finish third. When the podium ceremonies came around, no sign of J.J. Leto. The mechanics found him later on, and he issued an absolutely humiliating press report saying it was all his fault. He did not mean to miss the podium ceremony. He was just so discouraged to see all of that hard work tossed away in one corner.
Well, you know, and to go back to that just for a brief moment, I too was discouraged to see it happen for them because they had done a wonderful job, but I still blame that. We can show you, to go back to Atlanta just for a moment, this race was in the bag when all of a sudden at the end of the straight, this took place. Mueller again threw the race away. He could not have possibly lost the race. He could have backed off 5 seconds a lap and the race was in the bag. Only a couple laps to go. Did not have to push. Unlike Soper here. Soper's lead was only 11, 12 seconds, very, very close, so he had to maintain the high pace. But that in turn, I mean, that's good reason for anybody running in second, running third, fourth. You have to keep pressure on, never give up.
Now the gap is over 3 seconds between Eric Bernard and Steve Soper. What an amazing turn of events, proving yet again that to finish first, you must first finish.
Well, dramatic. You could write this stuff in Hollywood and you'd say, nah, it wouldn't sell because nobody would ever believe it. Just remarkable, absolutely incredible. Now, it's also difficult, too, because, again, after this race has gone on so long, you're going to start seeing a lot of stuff. As we pan down into the corner here, look on the edges of the track, and you'll see debris, chunks of tire, dust, stuff will be building up. So Soper has to be very careful. Oh, no. Now, I wonder if this is going to bring out a yellow. This could easily bring yellow because this is stopped in a relatively dangerous spot.
One of the GT cars.
Well, that too could play back into the hands of Panos. Remember, Martin gave us the story about the Panos perhaps having a question about fuel. Why, oh my, everything going at once.
That car is the Sascha Massa and Hans-Jörg Hofer Porsche 911. What's going to happen? We're about to see. We'll take our final break and then bring you back for the run to the checkered flag, uninterrupted. Stay with us. There are your leaders.
What's going on?
No problem. No problem. How far out?
God, the race nobody wants to win. Here, would you like it?
Now, has he got a broken toe in too?
Yeah, his steering. Look at the steering.
Yep.
He's out.
We are back live at Laguna Seca Raceway, and I can't believe what is happening. That is Eric Bernard, who swept into the lead when Steve Soper took what was then the race-leading BMW off track, and now Bernard and the Panos has a problem down to the pit lane. Steve Evans.
They have signaled Bernard to cut the motor off. The right front suspension has suffered damage. Just when it looked like we were going to have a repeat of Petit Le Mans, the problems happen in the Panos pits. They're normally totally reliable car and driver gimped in here. We thought it was just for a stop and go. Didn't realize they had damage. It appears this one will go to BMW.
Unbelievable. In the space of mere minutes, calamity strikes the race leader twice.
Well, don't go away yet, folks. You may see the Viper come through and have an overall win if this keeps going.
And according to our numbers, if Steve Soper can lead 3 laps between now and the end of the race, the bonus point will go anywhere but to Eric Bernard, and that will have a big impact in the championship. There is the Panos sitting forlornly in the pits. Let's take another look at what happened. Here comes the BMW with Soper to take over the lead. Bernard obviously having problems at this point.
He already does. There's something that has gone badly wrong with the car. He is a good enough driver to be aware that he's got this problem and slow down. Now, as he's coming up to the top of the hill, keep an eye. Look, suddenly he's got no steering. The car is just going straight. Look at that right front wheel. Very, very little steering input. So his steering probably is only working on the left front of the car, less than 50%. Amazing. Just, yeah, oh boy, he came so close to going straight off the edge of the corkscrew. Unthinkable. This car has been bulletproof all year long, much like the GTS Viper. Earlier today we saw one of those fail. Now the Panos. Oh, how frustrating. Gee. Talk about your swing of momentum, your emotions. You go from low to high to low. Oh, boy.
That's why we run the races. There is the car. Steve Soper right there is now in position to pick up the bonus point for leading the most laps in the race. That will cost Eric Bernard in his battle with both his teammate David Brabham and Elliott Forbes Robinson for the Drivers' Championship here with one full race yet to go at Las Vegas on November 7th. Oh my.
It's unthinkable. Just amazing racing. You never know.
I wonder what sort of traffic over the radio is going on between the teams and drivers. Think about Steve Soper for a moment. Just when he thought he had thrown the race away for himself, his teammate JJ Leto, and his team, he is suddenly back in the lead by 18 seconds over the remaining Panos in the race.
Well, he did indeed throw it away. I mean, I think the team is still going to be very upset with him, but it's very hard to be mad with somebody 100% when they come home with the checker flag.
Less than 3 minutes now showing in the race. Steve Soper pulls around the slowest corner on the racetrack. Turn 11, goes up through the gearbox, flashing across the start-finish line.
With the broken suspension, do you think the Panos guys left to shave their heads now? No more blonde hair, fellas. It's all got to go.
We'll all head down to old Monterey and talk this one over well into the night here in California.
So. Either that or they may shave the head of the guy who built that suspension piece.
We win as a team, we lose as a team.
Remarkable. Steve Soper he's got to be having trouble concentrating right now because he had to go through this emotional swing himself. Mad at himself initially, then having seen the Panos run into problem right away, he's going to be happy again. Now the difficulty is to try and remain placid.
To Martin in the pit lane.
With Eric Bernard, the man who just for a couple of laps led the race. Eric, tell us what happened to the car.
I don't really know. I think it's supposedly something on the directions broken. I touched nothing. I don't take a curve or I don't have a bigger shock. I don't know. It was very bad for us because we are leading on a championship. We are leading the race. For them, that's really important for all the VCN Panos team. But you know, it's a race. Sometimes it's well, sometimes it's worse.
Okay, so steering problems as we saw on the #1 Panos, and it looks as though Elliott Forbes Robinson may hold on by the skin of his teeth to this championship lead.
Elliott Forbes Robinson and teammate James Weaver currently shown in 5th place as a result of the BMW dropping out. The white flag has been shown. We are on the final lap here at Laguna Seca.
Well, and let's not leave and go home yet. He still has most of a complete lap to go. And, well, funnier things have happened. Although I assure you they wouldn't be very funny to the crew.
2 miles at Laguna Seca. Probably the longest 2 miles Steve Soper has driven in a long time. And I suppose they probably got J.J. Leto chained to the pit wall this time.
Oh, boy. If Leto's still here, if he hasn't disappeared yet, he may already be on a plane flying someplace, assuming that his co-driver gave it away again.
Oh. We are assured J.J. will be there for the podium ceremony this year, and this time he gets to walk all the way to the top of the podium. Down the corkscrew one final time comes Steve Soper, bringing the BMW home.
As he passes over his own skid marks from his momentary indiscretion, he can now go, woof.
From Surrey, England, Steve Soper, teaming with J.J. Leto, will come home. There's the GTS leader, that red Viper. Victory in the overall to Soper and Leto. And not a moment too soon, as the Panos team can only look at their formerly race-leading car, think about what might have been.
Oh, my. You think he doesn't feel some relief waving his hand going around the track right now?
One of the most amazing races in any series I've seen in a long time.
Well, credit to the BMW guys, giving both of these drivers, both team cars, performed flawlessly today. There wasn't a hitch, so that's a great recovery.
Coming up from behind, you see that red number 91 Viper, unofficially Olivier Beretta, the leader in the Drivers' Championship in the GTS category, and his teammate Carl Wendlinger will take the victory. And there is the GT class leader, the 02 car, coming off the corner, David Murray and Johnny Mollum, in what can only be described as a big, big upset. They come home with the class victory. We'll take a break and return as the post-race celebrations are about to begin at the Visa Sports Car Championship. Welcome back to Laguna Seca. Here are the top 10 in our unofficial results. The most unlikely of victories to J.J. Leto and Steve Soper in the BMW. Johnny O'Connell and Jan Magnussen bring the Panos Ford home second. Bill Auberlin and Joe Winkelhock third in the sister BMW. Let's get down to Steve Evans.
Well, as of late, the BMW team has made some huge deposits into the luck bank that is motor racing. And Steve Soper, this afternoon, you got a big withdrawal. Wow, what a swing.
Well, it goes both ways. We gave it to them at Road Atlanta, and I think we deserved it here. I mean, it wasn't a great race. We picked the wrong tyres to begin with. JJ did a great job coming back and got the car back up there. The problem was I had to take over with JJ's tyres, and I kept seeing the number 1 Panos catch me, catch me, catch me, and I was pushing like crazy, but I didn't have any grip, and in the end it just caught me out really where I didn't want it to catch me out. But 2 laps later, then the Panos nearly went off down here, and he obviously panicked because then there was a yellow, and he didn't pay any attention to the yellow at all. And you know, there's rules and there's regs, and I'll take that yellow both hands.
Congratulations to you and J.J. Leto. The tires, that's why they fell back to 5th, Martin.
All right, let's take it back and go through the unofficial results in the GTS category. Olivier Beretta and Carl Wendlinger, yet another victory, extending their streak to 5 in the Dodge Viper. And Beretta is now the runaway points leader. Let's go down to Martin Hine.
Congratulations, Olivier Beretta. 5th straight win for the Vipers here in North America. What do these other guys have to do to beat you?
I don't know, but the Viper, the Dodge Motorsport, have done a very good job. I mean, my car is fantastic, and the Team Oreca did also do a very good job. The Michelin tires, and thanks to all the staff in Dodge, and the Viper is very strong. I mean, you know, we work very hard to have that, and today we are very, very happy.
Well, congratulations, another victory, the runaway championship points leader, Olivier Beretta.
All right, thank you, Martin. We'll take a break. We still have 1 set of class victors to talk to. Stand by for more from Monterey, California. Back at Laguna Seca Raceway, the post-race celebrations have broken out. Final results, unofficial ones in the GT category. Victory for David Murray and Johnny Mollum in their Porsche. An absolute phalanx of Porsche down to the first BMW finisher in 7th place. Let's get down once again to Martin Haven.
David Murray, first win of the year in the GT class for the 02 car. It was an easy job.
I don't think so, Tim. I tell you, I used to count these last laps and take them for granted. Never again after Atlanta we got knocked off the track with 3 laps to go in the lead. So the last few laps here were very, very tense, but it was worthwhile. We had to push really hard because we had to make 2 stops to the other car's 1. We got to work on fuel mileage a little bit, but I tell you, Johnny Mullum, awesome driver. The team did a great job. We had 2 stops, flawless, and it was wonderful. Thanks to Roger Callis and Porsche, no substitute.
Well, there you go. First win of the year for the 02 car, but they don't turn tougher than that.
A well-earned victory on a most amazing day here at Laguna Seca Raceway. Now, here is the way we have crunched the numbers. Unofficially, the cars must go through tech inspection and the timing sheets checked and so forth. It would appear that Elliott Forbes Robinson is right where he was at the beginning of the day, 1 point ahead of what is now a tie for 2nd place in the championship between the Panos teammates David Brabham and Eric Bernard. Absolutely amazing. Now we'll take a look at the GTS points. Olivier Beretta has now fattened his lead by a wide margin over Martin Snow and teammate Carl Wendlinger, who helped Beretta bring that Viper home to victory today. And in the GT category, Kurt Wagner has a 6-point lead over Johannes von Overbeck, the local San Francisco boy driving with the BMW team today. His teammate Brian Cunningham 2 points back now in 3rd place. What an amazing day here at the racetrack. Your thoughts, Bill Adam?
Just truly incredible. This is all setting up for our final race of the year, of course, at Las Vegas, and where every battle is coming right down to the end. You can't ask for anything more. You love close racing. This is the best.
It has been a most amazing day, and we're glad you joined us. Be sure to join us again here on CNBC on Sunday, November 7th, as our coverage of the American Le Mans Series continues with the season-ending Grand Prix of Las Vegas. Again, that's Sunday, November 7th, 4 p.m. Eastern on CNBC. For Bill Adams, Steve Evans, and Martin Haven, I'm Bob Varsha saying so long from the 1999 Visa Sports Car Championships here at the Laguna Seca Raceway. Once again, your winners in the overall, the BMW team of Steve Soper and J.J. Leto. You've been watching the American Le Mans Series on CNBC. So long, everyone.